but it is about a woodcutter and his beautiful young wife. They lived in a little cottage in a clearing next to a big, dark, deep forest. The woodcutter was a very hard-working man. He was out in the forest from dawn till dusk, every day, and he worked hard, hard, hard. And one day when he was out there in the forest, he thought to himself, I shouldn't work this hard. I should go home to my wife. I should spend some time with her. So he took up his axe and he went back. But when he came out to that clearing where his cottage stood, he could hear that his wife was giggling inside. And I don't know if you know, but I know that women has a special giggle when they are in the presence of a man that they fancy. So the woodcutter became suspicious, and he crept up to his cottage, and he peeped in through the window. And there was his wife sitting on the sofa. On the table in front of her was glasses of wine and cake, and next to her was the pawnbroker of the village. And the two of them were kissing and carrying on and giggling. And by this time she had her blouse buttoned up down to here somewhere. And he became furious, and his grip round the axe tightened, and he thought, I will kill both of them. But then he thought, no, that is a bit too messy. I have to think about something else. I don't want all that blood in my house. So he went down to the woodshed and he sat down on the chopping block, and he wasn't all that happy. And he pondered about what had happened. But then he had a look down on the ground, and there he saw a piece of wood with a knot hole in it. And that gave him an idea. So he picked up that wood and he went back to the cottage. Hello, wife, I'm back home. I've come to see you. I knocked off work early today just to see you. And inside the cottage, the woman jumped up and she didn't know what to do. There was the wine and the cake. She shoved it into the cupboard. And there was the blouse. She had to unbutton that also, quickly. And there was the pawnbroker, what to do with him. But there was a chest next to the sofa. It was empty. So she opened the lid and she put him in there. She slammed the lid down just in time for the woodcutter to come in. Hello, wife, I'm early home today. I came to show you something because I got a present from the wood nymph because I'm working so hard in the forest. Look at this. He held up a piece of wood. Oh, darling, what is that? It's a telltale. You see, if you take this piece of wood and you look through the knot hole, you can see anything that is hidden, both outside and inside people. And he took the knot hole up and he looked through it, and he walked round the room and he looked at things, and he saw, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. And then he came to this chest. Oh, what have we got in here? Something valuable, something that I could get lots of money from. Wife, give me a rope. And the wife didn't dare to do anything else, but she ran to get the rope for her husband. And he took the rope and he wrapped it round that chest and he tied it tight. And with his strong woodcutter's arms, he lifted that chest up. And he walked out of his cottage and he walked all the way down to the pawnbroker's shop. And of course the pawnbroker was not there, but his assistant was there. And the woodcutter walked into the shop and he put the chest on the counter and he said, I have this chest to sell you and I want 50 gold coins for it. Ha! 50 gold coins for that chest. I could pay you a few pennies, if that. You must be out of your mind, woodcutter. Well, think about it, said the woodcutter. I'll go out and have a smoke, and I'll come in and see what you think. And as soon as the woodcutter went out of the door, the assistant could hear from inside the chest, pay him the money, for goodness sake, pay him the money. So when the woodcutter came in, the assistant handed over 50 gold coins. And the woodcutter went home happy to his wife. And it was time for them to celebrate now that he had made so much money. But it didn't take long before the rumor had spread around the village about the woodcutter and his magic telltale. And one day, the monks from the temple came up, and they were in distress. Mr. Woodcutter, you must help us, because our temple treasure has been stolen. All our money that we were going to use to refurbish our temple with, it's all gone. And we know that you could help us and find the treasure with your magic telltale. Could you come down to the temple, please? The woodcutter didn't know what to do. He didn't want people to know about the fraud he had made with the telltale. He didn't want people to know about his wife's infidelity. All he could do was to go with the monks down to the temple. He had his telltale in his hand, and he tried to look important when he was down there at the temple. He put it up in front of his eyes, and he walked round and, yes, I can see this. Yes, yes, this will not be easy. It's a difficult one. I can't tell you right now, but give me 3 days, and in that time I will have found a treasure for you. So with that, the woodcutter went back home, and he was so nervous. He didn't know how to find the treasure, and he knew that soon his secret would be out, and he would have been making a fool of himself. And he couldn't go to work. He was so nervous. He couldn't sleep at night. He was always tossing and turning in his bed, sweating. But one night, he heard there was somebody outside the window. And then he heard a voice. And the voice said, Mr. Woodcutter, Mr. Woodcutter, I was the one who stole the temple treasure, and I come to tell you about it, because I knew that you would find out sooner or later, and I wanted to tell you about it so that you wouldn't hand me over, because I don't know what flew into me, you see. I've never stolen anything before in my life, and if this comes out, that will be the end of me and my wife and my family. Please, Mr. Woodcutter, what shall I do? Please don't hand me in. And the woodcutter was thinking quick. And he said, well, I knew all the time it was you who had stolen the temple treasure, mate. And I just gave you time for you to come and tell me about it. But this is what you have to do. You take that treasure and you go down to the temple and you bury it behind the statue that is behind the temple. Is that clear? And you do that immediately. And don't ever steal anything again, because next time I'm not going to let you off as easy as this time. Oh, thank you, Mr. Woodcutter. Thank you, Mr. Woodcutter. I will do that. And now the woodcutter could sleep peacefully, and he fell asleep soundly because he had lost a few nights' sleep. And he woke up late the next morning, but with confidence he took his telltale and he walked down to that temple. And he started to walk around inside and looking through the knothole. Very important. Yes, I'm sure I will find it soon. Yes. And he walked behind the temple, and he saw, and he looked down behind the statue. Oh yes, yes, there it is. Monks, get your spades, dig there. And the monks took the spades and they dug the treasure up behind that statue. And they were so happy to have the temple treasure back. And they invited the woodcutter and his wife to a big feast. And they were the guest of honor. and they were even rewarded with 50 gold coins for the help he had given to the monks. And from that day, the woodcutter and his wife lived happily together in honor and fidelity of each other. And all that had inspired the woodcutter not to work so hard out in the forest, but to be there and spend some time with his beautiful wife, so that she didn't need to invite the pawnbroker any more.